There's a candidate I really wanted to win. I don't plan to conceal her identity. Last week, before we knew how things would turn out, Rabbi Mari invited me to offer some initial observations about the election in the context of a Devar Torah. I was honored to accept, and I asked her what the Parsha would be. Let's see, she said, we're in Bereshit, so on the 8th it'll be Lech Lecha. Would that work? I said, it's perfect. Here's why. Lech Lecha, as you know, is when God tells Abraham in his 75th year, go forth, leave the life and land you know, and journey to a different future. Now, the presidential campaign had left me, and maybe you, feeling the political version of bipolar syndrome. Anxious, exhausted, full of dread, but also at times of hope. Last week, with the polls tied, my heart full of foolish optimism, imagining a Harris win, here's what I had planned to say tonight. To tie the Parsha to the predictions. If only God had told me at the start of the campaign, Lech Lecha, get going, enough with the doom scrolling, the margins of error, the Morning Joe and Rachel Maddow and Pod Save America of it all. Dayenu, turn the page, the future is waiting. What a mitzvah that command would have been. It would have spared me so much useless stress. Well, as the saying goes, man plans, God does stand up. By now, we know the main issues that the exit polls say accounted for Trump's win. Economic insecurity, immigration, dissatisfaction with America's future, strength, change. Other issues not captured by the exit polls may also have made a difference, like the prospect of a black woman as president. But there's one factor in the outcome that hasn't figured in the polls or postmortems I've seen, but may have mattered as much as any other. To say what it is, come with me to May of 2016. It's the end of the presidential primaries. Donald Trump has the Republican nomination sewn up. On the Democratic side, the remaining candidates are Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders. We're in Anaheim at a Sanders rally. A New York Times reporter approaches a Sanders supporter in the crowd. His name is Victor Vizcarra. He's 45 and from LA. She asks him what he'll do if Bernie doesn't get the nomination. Will he vote for Hillary? No, he says. His second choice is Donald Trump. Trump? Really? Why? Because a Clinton administration, he says, would be boring, but a Trump presidency would be exciting. He knows this, he says, from watching The Apprentice. There it is, a vote for the candidate who promises to put on the best show. Not, as political polls inquire about, for the candidate who cares about people like me, or who aligns with my views on the issues, or who'll get America back on track. No, it's a vote for the one who won't make me want to change the channel. Gallup, meet Nielsen. What Vizcarra said next made my blood run cold. He said, a dark side of me wants to see what happens if Trump is in. There is going to be some kind of change, and even if it's like a Nazi-type change, people are so drama-filled. They want to see stuff like that happen. It's like a reality TV show. You don't want to just see everybody being happy with each other. You want to see someone fighting someone. I don't think Vizcarra, this man, is an outlier. Many people vote to send a message of rage and to shake things up, but I suspect at least as many vote to maximize the fun of watching all that tumultuousness played out in the media. I include myself. I feel that undertow. In the age of show business, we're not just voting for a candidate, we're voting for an experience, the rush of crisis, the thrill of combat, the high of breaking news, the squirt of dopamine when you know something crazy could happen next. The electorate has become the audience, and the audience is addicted to entertainment. No wonder attacks on Trump don't land. Voting for president feels like making a casting choice for a reality show. The people in those shows may not be called actors, but they've been chosen to fit the genre's types. They're as formulaic as the characters in WWE. The players are fixed. There's always a bad boy. That's Trump's part. Call him a bully, a liar, a fascist, any other name you want. They're not liabilities for the character he plays. They're qualifications. The more you say it, the more equity you add to his brand. How has democracy come to this? It's not that we haven't been warned. Social critic Neil Postman, in his classic work, Amusing Ourselves to Death, compares two different but equally chilling dystopias. One is George Orwell's 1984, the other Aldous Huxley's Brave New World. In 1984, Postman wrote, "People are controlled by inflicting pain. In Brave New World, they're controlled by inflicting pleasure." Orwell feared we would become a captive culture. Huxley feared we would become a trivial culture. Orwell feared the tyranny of authoritarianism. Huxley feared the tyranny of entertainment. Postman's point is that Huxley, not Orwell, turned out to be right. But as this election reminds us, it's a false dichotomy. A charismatic dictator and a charismatic entertainer can be two sides of the same coin. In other words, when you're a star, they let you do it. I open tonight with God's command, Lech Lecha. That's where I want to close. Its Hebrew grammar, I learned, is enigmatic. There's no single way to translate it. These are some renderings I came across. Go forth, go yourself, go for yourself, go with yourself, go to yourself, go into yourself, go by yourself. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, Zichrono Livracha, wrote an inspiring sermon about four of those, each with its own interpretation. One from Rashi, one from Midrash, one more mystical, and one from Rabbi Sachs himself. It's his own interpretation, go by yourself, I want to end on. Though Rabbi Sachs wrote it in England in 2008, I think it speaks to where we find ourselves here and now. This is how it concludes. To be a child of Abraham is to have the courage to be different, to challenge the idols of the age, whatever the idols and whatever the age. In ages of radical individualism like today, it means knowing that we are not what we own, but what we share, not what we buy, but what we give, that there is something higher than appetite and desire, namely the call that comes to us as it came to Abraham from outside ourselves, summoning us to make a contribution to the world. To be a Jew is to have the courage to travel alone if necessary, to be different, to swim against the tide, to speak in an age of relativism to the absolute of human dignity under the sovereignty of God that was born in the words, Lech Lecha. To be a Jew is to be willing to hear the still small voice of eternity, urging us to travel, move, go on ahead, continuing Abraham's journey toward that unknown destination at the far horizon of hope. The far horizon of hope, from his words to God's ears.